Alright, welcome back to a brand new episode of One Deck, One Month. Obviously this month we're doing Speedroids, and if you guys have been keeping up with Speedroids so far, I really appreciate it. But if you haven't, I highly recommend you guys check out episodes 1 and 2, just so you guys can get all caught up in how it's been playing a very rogue and under-the-radar strategy so far for the entire month. But today is Saturday. I haven't had a chance to film anything all week, and we're going to be heading off to locals here in about 20 minutes or so. And I wanted to bring you guys up to speed on what the current deck list looks like before we head out. So I did make a few changes to the main deck, and that was adding 2 copies of Dinotherium in there. Because I find like with cards like Primitive Butterfly, Hasty Horse, and Dinotherium, those cards help us get into Rubber Band Shooter without committing our normal summon, which is extremely advantageous for our strategy. And I've found oftentimes that'll help us play through Hand Trap interruptions. I've also added 3 copies of Forbidden Chalice to the main deck because I feel like it's a little bit more versatile than Dark Lure No More and Infinite Impermanence. For our deck's sake, Chalice can be a lot better when we have to go first as opposed to Dark Lure No More. And Forbidden Chalice can actually be a little bit more useful going second than Infinite Impermanence, mainly because we can commit to the plays that we want to make a little bit before we have to use our Chalice. Otherwise, with Infinite Impermanence, we have to shotgun it right off the gate, which leaves us more susceptible to cards like Winda that get summoned off Shaddoll Schism, for example. And I've also made a quick change to the side deck. We're on 3 Nibiru, 3 Shared Ride, 2 Dark Lure, 2 Cosmic, 3 Evenly Matched, and 2 Gozen Match. I made some of these changes mainly because I wanted to have a good balance of going first and second cards for combo and control. I'm feeling very confident with it. We're just going to go experiment today, have fun, and hopefully we can get that first 4-0 victory during this entire series so far. But first, I've got to go dig out those copies of Forbidden Chalice. Reminds me, we also need to re-sleeve our deck because there's nothing like a fresh pair of sleeves for a brand new week. There's also one other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about real quick before we leave, and it was that last week I talked about getting a second copy of Kite Drake into our extra deck. I unfortunately didn't order it early enough, and it didn't show up in time for today, so we're only going to be running 1 copy of Kite Drake. It's not that big of a deal because it will only come up sort of in certain situations, but again, I feel like it will help us convert losses to wins, but we just got to be careful with what we do with that Kite Drake today. If we get Maximus, we might want to hold on to it and send something else to the graveyard, and we just kind of need to be a little bit more conservative with what we're banishing off of our Rubber Band Shooter. So we just got to keep that in mind today. So yeah, we're on 1 Kite Drake, but like I said, I don't think it'll come up. It's a situational type thing, and it shouldn't be too big of a deal, but we got to roll out. Alright, week 3 begins now. Let's see if we can keep a positive record. Alright, so tournament is over. Post-tournament thoughts. Everything was pretty much fine. I don't think the second Kite Drake issue we talked about earlier actually came up, but still would have been very nice to have one. And the only other thing is that in the side deck, I think I'm actually going to cut Shared Ride for just Anti-Spell, just because I think it would be much better to have a harder Floodgate going first than to have something like Shared Ride, because like in some cases they could just play through it and just kill us regardless if we don't draw the right cards. And we also picked these two cards up, because lately I've been collecting some Pokemon on the side as well. But yeah, that's just some post-tournament thoughts. We'll go home and get you guys the in-depth tournament report. All right, we are back home in the studio. We're gonna go over that tournament report right now. And then I'll just kind of do some summarizing thoughts afterwards. This episode's going to be a little different in the fact because, like I said earlier at the start, I didn't record anything else this week. I didn't go to our Tuesday locals. So yeah, there's not as much going on this week. But I might extend it until like Sunday, Monday, and then we'll pick up in the next episode on Tuesday. I'm not sure how we're going to do this. If I want to add something in after this, we will. But let's go ahead and go over our rounds here. I do want to say, though, before we go any further, I'm actually very, very impressed with how the build performed today. All right, so round one, we ended up playing against Hero. This is the same Hero player we played last week. And I think that was the same Hero player that we played on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday last week. His build of Heroes is a little different than the builds that I've played against in the past. It seems much more like fusion oriented. I don't know, like either his build is very, very different, or Heroes, the way they play have just changed drastically. Because I used to have like a very, very hard time playing against Heroes, but then again, I don't know. But either way, we lose the die roll and he goes first, and he ends with not the best field, admittedly, just Rainbow Neos and one set back row. I'm glad at least it wasn't a Dragoon and one set back row. But either way, we start with the Butterfly, and then we summon Car Turbo, and we immediately just go into Kite Drake, just because like I haven't even committed my normal summon yet. Let's just start things off with a board wipe and take it from there. And if he negates and destroys or just gets rid of the Kite Drake, we get to search Terror Top, right there and put that on the field, and we still haven't even exhausted our normal summon yet. But the Kite Drake resolves. We summon a Marble Machine, grab Talk, tag for Duke, and then we make a Chambara, and then use Car Turbo and Grave, and we OTK, and that's literally how quick game one goes. Like if you blinked game one, you would have just completely missed it. But then in game two, he makes us go first. We start with Wind, discarding Car. He ashed. I'm starting to get like a little bit more like careful with how I use Wind, because I'm pretty much always going to anticipate that there is going to be an Ash. I don't think it's safe from now on to ever do test hands for the most part, like without always considering the fact that our Wind is going to be hit with an Ash, because like it just gets Ash so many times. So I'm starting to either preemptively set up that discard for a follow-up play, or just make sure we have a backup afterwards, etc., etc. But either way, we go first. We start with Wind. We discard Car Turbo. He ashes as expected. A normal summon double Yo-Yo to revive Car. We make Rubber Band Shooter, banish Hama. We get a Car. We make a double Crystal. He starts with the Elemental Hero Solid Soldier into Stratos, as he's done in the past. We negate the Stratos, and he passes. We summon the Twin Bow, and we OTK with the help of Car. And that was pretty much all they wrote for game two. I do want to mention, though, we opened a Twin Bow with that hand. So I feel like, and that's what I have written here, is that I feel like we could have made a Totem Bird play if I would have summoned Blue Impala instead of Warbling, because I resolved Auroradon and had, Car/Twin Bow in hand with a Duke engraved. So I feel like we could have made like a Cicada King instead, and then also maybe like a Totem Bird, because like if I can usually end on a Totem Bird with a Cicada King or a Crystal Wing, I usually try to do it instead of just going double Crystal Wing, because again I feel like it's a little more versatile. But either way, yeah, that was round one, easy 2-0 sweep against Heroes. Round two, we played against Dino, and this is a match that I knew going into it was going to be very, very difficult in testing. Dino has been nothing short of a nightmare to play against. It's such a hard matchup for us, especially if we have to go second into those boards. It's just very, very difficult. But game one, he goes first. He starts with a Pot of Extravagance, and we have a Droll on the Resolution, and he quite literally has to pass after that. Next turn, we are able to OTK with Chambara and Rubber Band Shooter with the help of Car Turbo. So, like, that felt great to do, because in testing, the one thing we did figure out, and I don't know if I mentioned this in previous episodes, but Droll Knockbird is incredible against Dino, better than Lancia, I think, at least anyways, and it just completely turned his turn off, and we just literally OTK'd him so easily. And one little kind of idea that popped in my head after that match was like, for that game specifically, is like the idea that I really want to try a going second build of Speedroids and just see how it would operate and how it would work in a competitive setting. But either way, game 2, we opened, I think, 2 copies of Talents, a Recovery, a Car Turbo, and a Droll, I think. It's not the best hand. Like, the only way we can combo is if we normal summon Droll, Special Car, go into Shooter, but at that point we've already used our normal summon, so it's going to be pretty suboptimal. But I just decided I would set the Car Turbo and pass. He draws, passes, I draw, flip up the Car Turbo, swinging for 800, eventually get to the Kite Drake, swinging for 3k. Next turn he goes off, and I try to Droll him, but he does have the Gamma for it, unfortunately. Then he goes to like make an Omega, puts a UCT on board with an Oviraptor and a Misk, and also a Baby Sarasaurus on the field. Next turn, I am able to bait his Omega by using Speed Recovery in the grave. He chains Omega. Luckily, he just hits a Warbler in out of our hand, and I Triple Tactics Talent his UCT. Attempt to use his UCT. He negates and destroys it with Dolka. Then we follow up with, I believe, Evenly Match. I think I followed with Terratop. Then he uses the other negate on the Dolka. Then we evenly him. And then he just leaves his set, I think, which I think is an impermanence. But either way, after all that damage we took the previous turn, we only had 600 life points left. And I forgot about the Omega coming back, so he was just able to go for game with that. In game 3, we end we end with just Crystal Wing and Totem with a set Chalice. We Totem the Extravagance, and he sets 2 Judgment, and he plays Lost World and passes, and we just OTK by making another Crystal Wing and a Raptite, and just outright push for game. So yeah, we actually ended up beating Dino, which is like insane to me that we beat that deck, but I played against my friend Dan. If you're watching this, sorry, but that felt very, very good to beat Dino. I'm very, very sick of losing to that deck, especially with Speedroids. But next up, we played Dragonlink, so we'll go ahead and take a look at that feature right now. Alright, so in game 1, I was lucky enough to win Diral to be able to go first, and I was also lucky enough to open that one of Terratop, and that would luckily resolve to grab Car Turbo, and we summon Marble Machine, and he's actually going to hit us with a Gamma, and he was a little unsure whether or not that was the correct play, but luckily, again, for us, we had a Triple Tactics Talent to shuffle back a Nibiru into his deck. Then we followed up with Tekatomborg into Duke. And then from here on out, we're just going to fast forward and go into our full combo. We go Rubber Band Shooter. We banish that Hama the Conquering Bow to reveal both Car Turbo and Rubber Band Plane. With our hand, it currently doesn't matter what we get, but we get the plane, summon the car we already had to trigger the plane, go into a Auroradon, tribute away 2 tokens for Warbler End this time around, make that a level 2 to go for Hagoita, go for our first Crystal Wing. Then we Duke for Car, and we have Recovery as well to be able to get Terratop back out to go into Leviair to recycle the Duke to make a second Crystal Wing. And then basically he tries to play through his turn, trying at several points to bait out the negations of both Crystal Wings. But he's just really not able to get me to budge. I let the Striker Dragon go through because it's not really grabbing anything that's too big of a threat. He's able to search that Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon alongside that Boot Sector launch. So I think his next play here is going to be able to play that Boot Sector launch, summon 2 rockets, both Synchron and that of Tracer. Now at this point in the duel, I'm just waiting for Halqifibrax to make an appearance. The Red Eyes Darkness Metal is fine. I don't even have to worry about any battle phase shenanigans because Crystal Wing's other effect. But lo and behold, there's the Halki. We negate it. Here comes Romulus, and we negate that as well, and that ends up being it for game 1. And of course, in game 2, my opponent opts to go first, and there really isn't much to be said. He has double a pointer of the Red Lotus, and we're just going to quickly move to game 3. So, as you might expect in game 3, I do opt to go first here. My hand is a little weird. I've got Chalice, Tekatomborg, Butterfly, and I've also got Win the Wind Chandler as well, alongside that Forbidden Chalice. So, I have the opportunity to make a pretty good play here, But you know what? I'm like, let's just see if the win goes through, because I really want to get to Terra Top. And this is just a lesson that I need to learn going forward. In hands where you already have like a guaranteed way to like get to Rubber Band Shooter without using the normal summon, especially if you have a card like Win in your hand, you should just hold the Win, because lo and behold, it's always going to get stopped. Let's be honest, Speedroid players here. They're going to either Ash it, or in this case, he hits us with a Gamma, and I'm forced to just set that Chalice and pass, and hopefully the Chalice and the Dragonlink bird is going to be enough to tide him over for his next turn. Because I could have easily have started with the Primitive Butterfly, summoned Talk, tagged for Duke, and then gone for Rubber Band Shooter. Now, granted, he would have had, per se, you know, the Gamma for the Rubber Band Shooter. I would be so willing to bet he would have Gammaed that at that point, we probably could have just safely used Win, pitching itself with Droll and Lockbird to go grab Terror Top and still do full combo off of just Terror Top, which I think would have ended in like double Crystal Wing or something like that. But then again, hindsight's 2020. I just need to be more careful with how I use Win going forward, and just basically treat every situation like they have a hand trap, unless we otherwise know for sure that they don't. So he's going to start with Foolish, dump that Abso Router, and it's going to add a copy of Rocket Synchron to his hand, where I'm going to hit him with the Droll and Lockbird, because I have no other choice. I've got to keep his turn as slow as possible so we don't get OTK'd. So his next move is going to be to normal summon that Rocket Synchron and link it off into that of Striker Dragon, which I know is fine. But then he's got the World Legacy Guard Dragon to follow up to bring back Synchron, and I'm wondering what's he going to go into next. He goes for the Hulk, and I have no other choice but to hit that with the Forbidden Chalice. And hopefully, again, it's just going to be enough to stop him, and he doesn't have enough extenders, you know, in his hand to keep going. And luckily for us, he does not. And he also forgot to attack, so, you know, that extra 1900 damage we would have took maybe just buys us an extra turn. But we're forced to normal summon Warbler in here. That was our draw for turn. I know, super fantastic. I suppose it could be worse. We're still able to get Talk on board and tag for Duke. And we're also still able to get into Rubber Band Shooter, which is going to allow us to banish an 8 from our extra deck. Since I do have a Denden Daiko Duke set up in the grave, so even if we don't get this Car Turbo to our hand, we can still get the plane on the field, but we just have to use the Duke early. We do banish Hama the Conquering Bow, and there's a little bit of a thing that happens here that I just noticed now. If we would have made Kite Drake with the plane and the car, we could have wiped away his Hulk and his World Legacy Guard Dragon, which would have actually been kind of relevant. And another thing that's also unfortunate, like I said earlier, we drew Warbler for turn, so we're not able to access it here off of the Auroradon. So we do have to go for Blue Impala, which isn't the most optimal. We're going to have to go for Leviair here, and then go for the Duke play to recycle it and make a Wrap type. And we're going to boost everything up by 800 with the Car Turbo and just try to get as much damage as we can. I know he's going to tag out potentially into something like Martial Metal Marcher. So we attack with the Leviair first. There's the Marcher, and he brings back the Rocket Synchron. So Leviair still big enough to get over the Marcher. The Auroradon still can get over everything else, and then we swing in for 3k direct, and he has Dark Ruler no more in his hand, which is super unfortunate because he's going to be able to play uninterrupted, and the Raptide here would have actually provided a good interruption for later on in his combo. So fast forward to the end of his combo, he's able to get Savage Dragon and the Hermetic Spheres on the field, and I top deck that of Primitive Butterfly, which is kind of bittersweet, especially since I have Blue Impala in the graveyard. We can use its graveyard effect to get a token on the field. My only other option was to maybe like Tribute Set the Primitive Butterfly, and hopefully it, you know, buys us a turn, but I just decided to scoop right here because there's just not anything we can do. He's got another Dark Ruler in hand and a Black Dragon Collapse Serpent, and if we destroyed anything on his field, he goes for Brotar and grabs another Levianeer, and that's pretty much all she wrote. Alright, so round 4 rolls around. We are 2-1, trying not to have what happened last week where we went 2-2. So we ended up playing against my friend Nick, and he wasn't playing the same deck he was playing last week, which was that Phantom Knight Goki deck. And I was kind of hoping we'd play that again because we did 2-0 sweep him. but he ended up playing a very difficult control matchup for us, and that was Dragoon Subterror. And that's why, like, I'm really glad I made the changes I did in the side deck beforehand going into this with the double Cosmic Cyclone, because I just feel, especially with a deck like Speedroid, I just feel very vulnerable without having that, like, on-the-spot back row removal. Because, like, Lightning Storm is great, don't get me wrong, so is Evenly Matched, but they can't deal with back row, like, on the spot in certain, like, niche situations, if that makes sense. Like, you can't end phase Lightning Storm a newly set back row. So game 1, he didn't open too well. I believe he opened the Red Eyes part of the Dragoon package, and we get to the point where, like, we win die roll, and I think we have, like, a Totem Bird with a Leviair and a Rubber Band Shooter, and he just sets a couple back row, and then, like, he flips up a There Can Be Only One on us, which is actually kind of relevant, because he did it on the resolution of the Leviair effect when we got to use it the second time. Oh yeah, because he did hit us with a Dimensional Shifter during our first turn, which threw us off a little bit, but we were still able to end Leviair, Totem Bird, Rubber Band Shooter, and then he flipped up There Can Be Only One the following turn. I didn't actually negate it with my Totem Bird. I don't know why I didn't. I just kind of let it go. But we were able just to play beatdown with everything else that we had, and that was just game 1. Game 2, he goes first. I think I side in just Evenlies and Cosmics. Didn't see a single side deck card. And he's able to put out Dragoon with the Subterror Hidden City and the Guru with, like, the whole Fiendish setup. He actually, like, lets us combo really, really far, to the point where, like, he never used his Dragoon negate, and now looking back, I know why he didn't, because the last card in his hand was Nibiru. He Nibiru's us, gives us a huge token with, like, 10,000 attack, and he puts it strategically in the same column as the extra monster zone, and he just relinquished Animate it and swung in for 10,000 damage, and that was game 2. So, like, I don't know if there was a way I could have set something up to prevent that. I honestly wasn't, I didn't even see it in, like, the realm of possibilities. And it's funny because this is actually the second time this has happened to us in recent weeks, where we've gotten Nibiru'd for a huge Nibiru token, and then they end up taking it with Relinquished Anima and just OTKing us with just the Anima and the token attack. But either way, we go to game 3. He ends up drawing both Dark Magician and Red Eyes, and I just feel so incredibly bad. We do end up going first, and I think we end up with, like, Crystal Wing and, like, a Totem Bird or something like that. Or no, we end up with, like, a Cicada King, which ends up actually being really clutch, because we're able to negate with it a Guru and a Fiendish. He does go into an Anima with the Fiendish, and steals our Cicada King, not the Totem Bird. And I think it comes to the point where, like, we're just kind of trading back and forth. I'm poking in for a little damage here. He sets one end phase. I hit it with a Cosmic. It's an Impermanence. That allows us to, like, normal Dinotherium, poking for a little damage. Next turn, he's not able to do much. We, like, draw a Dendaiko Duke. We normal that. Make a Clearing Fast Dragon. And then we boost up, like, our Totem Bird and our Fast Dragon by 800, and we just swing in with all of that. It wasn't much, like, neither of us did much in game 3, but we just sort of won out in the simplified game state because of the Cicada King. That thing got up to 3,500 defense, and he just really wasn't able to out it, and we got 2 negates out of it over the course of a few turns. I didn't take notes because I just mentally didn't want to take notes after all those games. But yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell what happened in round 4, and we ended up going 3-1 with Speedroids in week 3. I'm a little sad that the next week's our last week. But yeah, that's gonna do it for the tournament report. All right, so welcome to Monday. Before I wrap this episode up, I wanted to talk about the deck a little bit before we go into the 4th and final week. I'm gonna miss this deck a lot. It's been so fun to work with a rogue strategy this month, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing this deck again at some point with this series, because we will revisit decks, of course, as time goes on. But I was streaming last night. I stream every Sunday and Monday, by the way. Link to my Twitch down below. And Aerosol TCG happened to pop into the chat. And we also got a host from Pack, so thank you for that. Shoutouts to you. He brought to my attention some ideas. I like them in theory. I haven't fully committed to them, though. The first being, well, one of the ideas was cutting Twin Bow, just because I feel like Twin Bow is unnecessary. Drawing Twin Bow can make hands a little awkward. Even though you can technically get the added benefit of resolving Sting on the opponent's turn and searching a card to go in the next turn, I feel like it's, you know, a marginal bit of advantage at best, and it's not just worth it to run in the main deck. The other thing was the possibility of cutting double yo-yo. And I like the idea of cutting double yo-yo, except for the fact, I mean, the reason I like it is because that would allow us to cut a level 7 Synchro from the extra deck. Now, if we were to do that, that would give us an option, give us a couple options. Either add in a Stardust Charge Warrior, add in a third Crystal Wing, add in a Hama the Conquering Bow, maybe another Link monster, but I'm just really not sure what I would add. Like, I do say a lot that the extra deck is tight, but it's kind of funny now, looking back. I'm not sure. The only thing I could see getting shoved in here immediately would be a Stardust Charge Warrior. But then again, would the Stardust Charge Warrior convert losses to wins, or win us games, you know, more games in general? I don't think so. I doubt it. So I think I'm gonna hold on to the double yo-yo for just a little bit longer and see how it plays out. Granted, it is a cuttable card at this point, though, for me. The other card I've added in, and this was from a suggestion in a comment, was adding in the Tricky. And it is a wind monster, thankfully. It's a spellcaster, which is also interesting. But it basically says special summon this card from your hand by discarding a card. So it's more versatile than Quick Draw, and the fact that Quick Draw as a tuner doesn't come up because you can only use him for the summon of like Synchron monsters and stuff. Although he can be treated, you know, as any Synchron monster, but I feel like the Tricky is just a little bit better for this particular deck. So for now, I think we're going to try the Tricky out. I've also added in a second Rubber Band Plane. I do like Rubber Band Plane quite a bit in here, and especially with like Hasty Horse and things like that. You know, and the Tricky, it's so easy to trigger this card onto the field. There's so many ways to do it. I did want to play 44 cards, like I've mentioned before, because we are playing 3 engine requirements on 3 Droll and 3 Ash now is the newest addition. The Chalice I've been liking. Chalice is great. Maybe I'd go Impermanence if we were playing at like a higher level event, but I do like Chalice just because I feel like it's really good against a wide range of decks other than just combo per se. Because like Chalice is good at dealing with problem cards that arise in the middle of your turn, like cards like Winda and other things along the lines of that, you know, interruptions that are going to get sprung upon us during the middle of our combo, where Imperm we have no other choice but to shotgun it at the start of our turn. And I don't really want to play any more hand traps, because this is one of those decks where like opening 3 hand traps in, it's really bad, especially if you have to go first. And we're always playing to go first. Even in some other games, you know, we're going second might be more favorable. We might still try to go first, because I do want to try to side more floodgates, things like Goes and things like anti-spell fragments. So yeah, this is a bit of a dilemma going into the next week. Obviously, Dinotherium's not in here. And we cut Dinotherium alongside the double yo-yo on stream last night because we weren't going to play a level 7. And there's no reason to play like level 4s like that if we're not going to play a level 7 to be able to access with them. So yeah, if anything, I might cut double yo-yo for maybe, I don't know. I honestly don't know what the last card would be. Maybe a Reasoning. That might be it. And add in, that's because that basically would act as a pseudo starter at that point. Because like Reasoning, we'll be able to get the effect of like Sting if we hit it off Reasoning. We'll be able to get the effect of Terror Top. And that's really about it. But yeah, there's some cards we can hit off of Reasoning. So I might add Reasoning in. I might add a Monster Reborn in, because this is a bit of an additional extender as opposed to being a superior, which we should value superior over that of additional. So I might do that, and if we do, we'll cut this and we'll add in Charge Warrior, but it's going to take a little bit of testing this week, and especially tomorrow. I don't know if I'll have Trickies to play tomorrow at locals. We'll see if maybe I'll have to dig for them. I just ordered a playset of DT because apparently it comes DT. It was only like $3 for a playset. But yeah, we'll update you guys obviously over the course of the next week in the next episode. I hope you guys have been enjoying the series so far. Share it with a friend. They do take a long time to put together. Obviously, an entire week's worth of stuff going into one video. So again, share it if you enjoy it. Leave a like, leave a comment. And also consider supporting the channel at the links below. And, of course, hitting that join button to become a member today. And as always, guys, Winter Kill sign out. We'll see you guys in the next one. And last but not least, a major shout-out goes to our Divine Level channel members here on YouTube, Academic Thick, Zors, and Cadillacs84. Thank you guys so much for continuing to generously support the channel. It does go a long way, and it means a lot. Again, guys, thank you for your amazing support.